short, so we got to work this out. They both go together. They gave me instructions, y'all. Hold on. They go together. Good evening. My name's Theresa. I'm an alcoholic and a real crackhead. All righty. Diggity dog. This is so nerve-wracking. I always say this is like, I don't know. I get so nervous. I'm sick to my stomach. I want to puke. I think I might have diarrhea. I just wanted to see how she would sign that. I love to mess with the signers, like say ass. Up my ass, up my ass, up my ass. Gotta make their job exciting. Oh, goodness. I want to puke. I got a lot going on up here. I usually have to say that. This is a lot of pressure when you have a room full of people staring at you. And, thank you. You know, it's also I have so many friends out here. We've got the UK in the house, so many of you that I've seen in different parts of the world, and I've been so loved. It is always an honor and a privilege to be asked to speak in the rooms of Cocaine Anonymous, and for this I am truly grateful, and I want to thank you. I want to thank the committee and Ginger for being so kind and so patient. Like my buddy Ralph says, all the shadow warriors, for all that you do throughout the year. This is no big deal. I just get to show up here with the light shining on me for about an hour. And so I'm really grateful. I've had a wonderful time. This place is really beautiful. It's interesting how even now, as I sat in my room and on the property, there's some parts of me that still doesn't feel worthy. It's very interesting. And I get to try to take it in and with appreciation, but I'm still in awe of the gifts that God has given me and this program. My heart's pounding. I feel so sick. I'm always like, all right, God, like everybody's staring at us anytime now. This is like, I'm stalling, you know what I mean? Anyway. Like people staring at us. I'm a little nervous. My family's here. I've shared with so many of you. A lot of you have had an opportunity to hear me, and I talk a lot about my dad. And my dad is here tonight. So Daddy is here. Let's give my dad a round of applause. Daddy! That's my daddy. I'm like, uh-oh. Anyway. The countdown was really cool. I haven't seen a countdown like that. That was really nice. I always say we traumatize the newcomer, though. It's kind of hard to take a drink or get loaded after something like that. And so if you're new with the few hours that you had, the 7 hours or the one day, I hope you didn't just come with your friend. That your friend told you, hang out with me, and you didn't realize that everybody was going to stand up and give you a book and ask you to keep coming back. You're just hanging out with your friend to get a couple of dollars, maybe. I always wonder about that, but anyway. I'd like to give a round of applause to all the wonderful speakers, the people who did workshops, who did marathons all hours of the night. Let's give them a round of applause because they've done an awesome job. And I definitely would like to give God a round of applause because this is a trip, a bunch of dope fiends in one room. I've been impressed, boy. There's a lot of dope fiends up in here, and I ain't seen nobody on the floor tweaking, looking out windows. I'm impressed. And my purse is still intact, and it's good, and everything is there. That may not be a big deal to you, but that's a big deal to me. I want to welcome our new friends. I want to welcome anybody who's new and tell you, welcome home. We've been praying for you. I'll continue to share it because I heard it when I got here. There is a moment of silence and prayer, and it takes place in every meeting all over the world, and that is for you. But for the grace of God, you have been lifted up and brought into the rooms of Cocaine Anonymous. That was not your idea, and you don't get credit for that one. You've been given a gift, and it's a gift unearned. We ask you to keep coming back. Don't leave 5 minutes before the miracle happens. Let us love you till you can learn to love yourself. And strap on and hold on, because you're about to go for a ride. And if you be new, I wish you the gift of desperation. I hope alcohol and cocaine and whatever that is through with you, and that the party's over and this is the last house on the block. And it's going to be all right. We say the new person is the most important person in the room, and we need you. But I also believe that the old-timers are real important. I want to thank the old-timers for my life and my sobriety. I still want what you have, and I don't ever want to lose that. I ask you to keep coming back and setting the example, letting me know that I too can recover one day at a time. I watch the old-timers. I'm grateful we don't get well around here. I watch them show up and sit at their favorite seat, their same seat, that seat, every week in that meeting. I think I just keep coming back so I can have my seat one day. That's my seat, and that's where I'm sitting at every meeting. I watch them to continue. They sweep the floors, and they put up the chairs, and they extend their hand. And for that, I am truly grateful. So thank you for being here. I have a sobriety date. My sobriety date is March 29, 1990. My goodness. But for the grace of God, I've been here 21 years, one day at a time. Kind of trippy. Look like I got sober when I was 10, right? I tell people, I look good. I'm 45. Anyway, I look really good for 45. You're not laughing. I think that's funny. We share in a general way what we used to be like, what happened, and what we are like now, and there's a reason for that. In our literature, the doctor's opinion talks about depth and weight. I believe it to be the language of the heart, the music that I have found in these rooms. And if you be new, I hope you hear the music. For you see, it goes past your disease that is centered in your thinking, and it goes straight into your heart, And once the seed's been planted, you can't drink or use the same again. I ask you to listen to the similarities and not the differences. And you get to ask yourself a couple of questions like, that happened to me. I felt that way too. And more importantly, perhaps this program can work for me. Man, talking about living two lifestyles in one lifetime. At no time did I ever think that my experience can benefit others, that my greatest liabilities will be my assets. It did not occur to me. To this day, I still look in the mirror and I'm amazed of who's looking back at me. And as much as I always made sure that I looked good on the outside, I never knew that I was really dying on the inside. I have pictures of me, and my hair is flawless. My makeup is done, my clothes are sharp, and my nails, and I have jewelry. But if you look in my eyes, nobody's home. And I also invite the newcomer to not only hear what I say, but I hope that you can feel it, and more importantly, that you could see it. Because this is a program of attraction rather than promotion. It's important that I share with the newcomer, I don't get paid to do this. I'm not looking for recruits. I don't represent Cocaine Anonymous. I may be the walking book, the big book, but I don't represent Cocaine Anonymous. I'm not the spokesperson. I don't get a toaster and I don't get a brownie if you join. Would be nice. What I get to do is stay sober another day. And I get to give away what was so freely given to me. It's so funny. To this day, I still say I feel like I'm in a witness protection program. And I'm always worried that if they find out who I am, they're going to send me back. As the story goes. God has a sense of humor. I think he just does, I don't know. Anyway. It took a long time for me to hear my story in these rooms. I like the stories of the people who didn't fit in their family or grew up in a nice, healthy, loving environment and one day went to a party or had a drink or somebody passed them a joint and all of a sudden they felt right-sized and they found their love and moved on in their life and eventually crossed some invisible line and things got ugly and they felt shame and remorse and it went on for years. And then they ended up in these rooms, half dead. I like those stories. When I got here, you told me to examine my relationship with alcohol and cocaine and any other mind-altering substances. And that the very first requirement that I needed to do, the very first thing that I needed to do, was not the first step, was that I concede to my innermost self that I was truly an addict. And when I looked at my relationship, the best thing that I can tell you and the way I describe it is a love affair. Alcohol and drugs took care of me for a long time. It was my friend, it was my companion. I don't know if it talked to you, but it talked to me. And what it told me was that if nobody loves you, I love you. And if nobody wants you, I want you. I'm born addicted to this lovely disease. My mother is an alcoholic and an addict. Thank God she's sober today, 24 years. And so you see, I came into this world loaded. You call it a dysfunctional family or a dysfunctional home. This was the life that I only knew, and it was a normal life. Alcohol was given to me in my bottle and in my gums. My mother made sure that I stayed loaded. She gave me alcohol before she would give me any of the food from the 4 food groups. I just remember that my mother used to always give me, I used to have to drink 2 bottles of Johnny Walker Red and smoke a carton of cigarettes. And I couldn't get up until I finished that. And my brother used to feel bad for me, and he used to always try to ask my mom if he could take me to the store with him. So you see, I drank and used every day, all day, for 25 years of my life until I found you 21 years ago. So I didn't know a life other than that life. My heroes, my role models, the people that I respected and I looked up to were hustlers, dope fiends, gangsters, hoes. Those were my cousins, my uncles, my aunts. I tell people that wasn't in the neighborhood, that was in my house. I grew up in the projects in New York. And the same thing that went on in the projects in New York was the same thing that went on in the mountains in Puerto Rico. And I didn't know there was another way to live. I experienced a lot of physical abuse, sexual abuse. I lost my virginity around 5, 6 years old. I was kicked on, spit on, punched, smacked. I was told I was stupid, you're an idiot, you're nothing, you're nobody, get out of my face, get out of here. My playgrounds were shooting galleries, crack houses, and bars and clubs. I liked the smell of the dirty rugs and the red leather seats. And the glasses, they still to this day look like jewels. My mother was in and out of mental institutions. She was always trying to kill herself. And so I seen enough two-way mirrors and ink blots. I always trip out with those ink blots. They still like butterflies. I still don't know what the ink blots are about, what they're supposed to do, what how it's supposed to change my life. I don't know nothing about that. You know, when I talk about the physical abuse, the sexual abuse, the verbal abuse, as horrific as I tell people that sounds, it's important that you understand that I wasn't present for that experience. Alcohol told me, and cocaine, because I was doing cocaine when I was a little girl. My mother was always sniffing. I hung out with Colombians. I was sniffing cocaine when I was probably like 4 or 5 years old. All my friends and the relationships I had with Colombians was dealers. They was dealing everything out of my house, out of my family's house. That's what we do. My cousins were always hanging out in the street and they were selling and doing their thing. I'm walking down the street with my cousin Louis. I love my cousin Louis. I loved him. And I'm walking down the street with him and he gets shot. Oh well, I can't hang out with him no more. My response was like, damn, coño, you know what's up, Louis? Damn, you know what happened? I don't stick around and hang out for the police. I've seen a lot of people OD. I put them in the closet. I don't go to no hospital. They ask too many questions. Everyone in my family have pretty much died as a result of this disease. Whether it's kidney failure, cirrhosis of the liver, falling down, cracking your skull, getting shot, ODing. And when you die in our family, you die with your drug of choice in your coffin, and we take pictures with you. And we model with the bottle, the pipe, whatever. Hey, what's up? Hey, okay. I think about when my titi died in Puerto Rico, Titi Lidia, when she died, I remember she didn't have her Budweiser in her coffin, and she looked sad. She didn't look right. And I kid you not, as soon as we put a case, no, not a case, a six-pack, a Budweiser in her coffin, I swear she smiled. And I was like, now, Titi, straight. I had no idea that that life was considered insane or inappropriate or unhealthy. I don't ever remember looking at the Brady Bunch, watching Marsha saying, I want to be like her. Homegirl would get a pimple and trip. You never seen that show? I seen that. They were crazy. That family was crazy. I always say I came to Cocaine Anonymous to get adjectives for my behavior. The character defects that we talk around here, I took pride in those. I was schooled on those character defects. And the more that I mastered them, the more that my chest stuck out. Manipulation, selfish, self-centered, self-seeking, dishonesty. I took pride in that. And at the same time, I went to Catholic school. I put a uniform on and a smile on my face, and I said the Our Father and the Hail Mary. I did my confessions on Saturday. I even sung in the choir on Sundays, and I took my Holy Communion. I had no idea that I was dying on the inside, and there was something wrong with the life that I lived. And I lived like that for 24 years. You couldn't tell me that the life I was living, that I was going to end it. I never did a New Year's resolution. I didn't say tomorrow's going to be different. I didn't ever say I need to stop doing this. They used to send me upstate New York to some fresh air fun with some woman named Bunny, and we would ride a donkey and she would teach me how to make apple pie. I still don't know what that was all about. I was like, whatever. I went to mentorship programs. I had big sister programs. I went to the YMCA. I had teachers who cared about me. But nothing took care of me the way alcohol and cocaine took care of me. I don't know about you, but I used to breathe. It wasn't about hanging out and being social with people. I didn't need to. I got high in my house. And I was a VIP at all the clubs and all the bars in my neighborhood. You call it barfly, I call it VIP. You call it tomato, I call it tomato. It's all about perspective. I walked in alleys at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, and I dare you to come up on me. I had a very interesting life. At the same time, like I said, I went to Catholic school, and I also had this spiritual, religious practice of spiritualists in my family and African tradition, and I didn't understand where God fit in any of that. I was around a lot of psychics, and none of that conversation came up about what was really going on. Nor did they consider that a problem. So this is the life that I lived. I left home at the age of 14. I went with a man who was 26, 11 years my senior. All my friends were 15, 20 years my age. I couldn't hang out with none of my friends and talk about what? Jump rope? What are you talking about? Play with a doll? I'm saying that at 7. Play with a doll? I left with this man, and he beat me on a daily basis. You couldn't have told me that wasn't love. That was my man. We call it papi, okay? Puerto Rico, that's my papi, okay? And he beat me. And I drink Southern Comfort and smoke a joint and sniff and let him do what he got to do with me. And the only thing I could tell you that I used to say to him, are you done yet so I can finish watching this television program? You've been beating me for the last 45 minutes. I got 15 more minutes in the television show. I want to see the end of it. You're not tired? Coño, let me finish watching the rest of the movie. I didn't pass out. I wasn't shocked or appalled. I didn't cry. Where I come from, I ain't no punk. That's crazy. And when I talk about myself, I feel like I'm talking about myself in third person. I feel like I'm talking about a stranger. That life was such a normal life. You know, the interesting thing about that was you would have never known. I went out of my way not to be like a drunk like my mother. My mother was the one that was passing out and was shameful and embarrassing. I just needed to make sure that I looked good. I used to tell people the good old days for me is going to some bar or some club, seeing somebody I want to sleep with. I don't have a whole lot of criterias. I look at you and say, I'm going to sleep with you. We get ready to leave. You bring 4 or 5 of your friends. The more, the merrier. I don't ask no questions. We go to some hotel or somebody's house. Somewhere in that night, I thought we were having a good time. I get gang raped, sodomized, and pistol whipped. I go to the bathroom. I fix my hair. I put on my makeup. I straighten my clothes. I take a drink. I take a hit. And I go back out there and I do it all over again. Those are the good old days. You see, I tell people, I didn't come to this program for the consequences of my using. Consequences don't get my attention. I don't wake up with strangers. I don't worry about crawling on floors. I don't worry about getting on my knees. I don't wake up with a stranger in the morning and say, perhaps I have a problem, I need to go to a program. That cracks me up. I'm a real dope fiend. With good reason, I don't stop. If anything, I'll eliminate you out of my life. If you tell me I had a problem, you gotta go. I always had my combination. This was my combination since I could remember. It was Cavassier, some good weed, and a package. That was my combo. I did that for many years. And I worked, I was successful, and I lived in money, property, and prestige. And I looked good on the outside at all times. And at no time did I think that my life needed to change or that there was something wrong with the way I was living. Ever. Not once. So what happened to a dope fiend like me, who was real comfortable with her condition? I lived flatline, detached, and disconnected. I never had a heartbeat. I don't know nothing about loving you or you loving me. I'm not into that. And don't even mention those words. I don't play that. I'm not about respecting you and you respecting me. I bought all my friends. I held them hostage. And I let you know it. And too bad if you don't like it. I took what I wanted to take when I wanted to take it. If you loan me money and I didn't pay you back, that's your problem. You're the one that's stupid. You know I was broke when you gave it to me. I just be like, what are you talking about, man? I told you I didn't have no money. That's on you, man. That ain't got to do with me. I ain't paying you back. I'm hoping you can loan me some more. You don't need that VCR, right? That's funny. Y'all had some stories. I was listening to the speakers. They were cracking me up. Talked about the insanity of this disease. Homegirl on Thursday about living in a shack. That was so funny. I identify with that. Real comfortable. I don't know if y'all got Skid Row out here, but we got Skid Row in L.A., and I go down there a lot, and I see people sleeping in a cardboard box, real comfortable. They sleep better than me, some of them down there. And I get that. So here I am living my life in a state of oblivion. And you may call it dysfunctional or ugly. I really don't. As a matter of fact, I thought it was real cool. I liked my life. What happened to me? All I can tell you is that at the age of 24, I was betrayed. I was in this relationship. He got tired of me using him, pimping him, abusing him, treating him less than a man, let alone a human being. I came home one day and he took everything I owned. And he only left me with a brass bed, no mattress. And I remember I came in the house and I said, he ain't done nothing to me. And I put a pillow and a blanket in the middle of that brass bed. And I said, I got this. At this time, I had been selling. I had always hung out with Colombians, and I sold and I smuggled. I did a whole lot of that. I don't really look obvious. And I had a huge package, and I took it upstairs to where these gay boys live. And I threw it on the table, and I said, cook it up. And I remember I used to pick up my cousins from the crack house or my man from the crack house in a limousine with my fur coat and my jewelry. And I had a guy in there, and he looked at me and he said, whatever you do, T, don't do that. I'm begging you, don't do it. And I told him to mind his business. And I told the guys to cook it up. And he had tears in his eyes, and he said, I'm begging you, you don't want to play baseball. And I said, step off and mind your business. And they cooked it up, and that changed my life. What smoking cocaine did for me was it gave me a heartbeat. I had never been present or had come down off of anything my whole life. And all I can tell you was that I took a hit, I went on a ride, and I came down. And when I came down, I was shocked and appalled at this thing called life. I was now present for experiences that I had never been present for before. That's what happened to me. Cocaine introduced me to my disease. Cocaine introduced me to what had been happening all along that I had no idea. Because as I told you, I had lived flatline. As long as I had my combination, I was straight. So now I'm on a mission because I don't know how to come down. And I don't know how to be present. I don't know what that's about selling your jewelry, and I'm selling ficus trees at 3 o'clock in the morning. What is that all about? There's nothing cool about that. I'm hanging out with people now who are butt naked in a closet. What is that all about? People like to get high and get naked and go in the closet, and all this stuff is happening, and I'm like, what's going on? Here. I'm giving up all of my jewelry. I'm selling everything as quickly as I can. I'm selling all my money. I can't get off from the spot that I'm sitting. Now all of a sudden I can't take a bath. The water hurts your skin. And you're afraid you're going to miss something, and I don't know what's going on, and I don't know what's happening, man. I don't know about anything, but smoking crack ain't cute. You can't be cute doing that. I don't know about homegirls said crack is whack, whatever, I don't care. That's not cute. And now my clothes are all smelly and everything, and they're all nasty. I'm looking at the window, I'm tripping, I'm on the floor. I'm trying to get a grip. I'm like, we gotta work this out, because this right here is not cool. Do you know that I live only 6 months of that? I know people do it for years. It rocked my world. And I was so sick that I ended up buying and taking from my Colombian friends kilos. I'm walking around with a Louis Vuitton bag full with all type of paraphernalia to cook, to get it together. I'm walking around with like 15 straight shooters, all of them packed because I can't stop. Because I'm figuring if I keep going, you'll never come down. My lips are all burnt. My hair is a mess. And my friends, you know, it's a scary thing when you got dope fiends don't want to even hang out with you. And my friends was like, I don't know what you got going on, but you can't come up in here with that. You're going to die. I'm hanging out with people going, you got to stop. You got to keep going. You got to keep going. I got to keep going. I got to keep going. They're like, relax. I'm like, no, you don't understand. I can't come down. I cannot come down. Because when I come down, the sun burns my skin. What is that, man? Turn that off, yo. Turn that off. That was crazy. Turn that shit off. They like, yo, that's the sun. We can't turn that off. Now I'm coming up with bright ideas like I'm not paying the rent. When you told me my best thinking got me here, I got a lot of stories. You ain't lying. I'm the one that came up with that idea. I'm not paying the rent. I was like, let them come and get me. Why you gotta pay rent anyway? I don't know, whatever. And I was like, and I'm not paying for lights either. We don't need no lights. And I love my other dope fiend. You know, they funny. The other crackheads be like, yeah, we don't need no lights. We got candles. And now all of a sudden I'm like, why do I have a phone? You here? Who I need to call? Yeah, you don't need no phone. We can do a lot with that money. That's crazy. I remember when the marshals came to my door and they knocking on the door and I hear them say, I thought they said Marsha. I'm like, who's Marsha? Who invited Marsha to my house? I don't know a Marsha. They're like, girl, that's the marshals. You gotta go. That was crazy. You know that talk about the insanity. I walked out of that building with Louis Vuitton luggage like I was being escorted like a movie star. I left there and I went into some hotel on American Express card that belonged to my brother for $100 a night. Still clueless that something's wrong with that. My best asset now no longer serves me. I love to share that, ladies. I don't mind being a good hoe and making a good dollar. We do what we gotta do to get what we gotta get. And if you look cute and you look clean, you know, it took me a while to even say that I was a hoe. When I got here, I remember telling them I never prostituted. I used to share that in my meetings. Oh, thank you so much, ladies, for being honest and sharing my yets. I never did that. And they were like, oh, really? Let's see. You never went to a club, smiled at a guy, he bought you a drink, got you high, you went home with him? I was like, yeah. They were like, you a hoe. I always share that, and somebody in the room just found out they were a hoe. I didn't know either, so don't worry about it. It's all good. We recover. That was crazy. So now I'm homeless. I'm jumping from my dad's house to my grandmother's house. I'm showing up at my grandmother's house after being gone for days, showing up funky, nasty, dirty, with an attitude and arrogant. Dare her to question me where I've been and what I've been doing, telling her to mind her business and get out of my face. And I put my dirty socks in her face in the bed. And I remember I used to try to go take a shower, and I would hear my grandmother say, I don't know what she's doing, but she comes out funkier than when she goes in there. I don't know what she's doing in the bathroom. And I remember I would go to my dad's house, and Daddy stopped talking to me. I can't tell you when he stopped talking to me. You know, I just didn't understand what happened. I just want the good old days back. When did Daddy stop talking to me? And I couldn't wipe up the look of disgust on my grandmother's face. You know, I tell people, if I can go back and take a drink and get high and go back into a state of oblivion, I would do it. But I've lost those privileges. I don't know how many times I should have been on a milk carton. As I said, my best asset don't serve me no more. They say it don't have no face, but it does after a while. I have a contract out for my life. I owe this Colombian 2 kilos. And he known me since I was a little girl. And I'm lost and confused in a world that I don't know how to live. Because you see, it left me emotionally retarded. With no coping skills. And I just want to look cute on the outside. And I can't keep up. I can't look in the mirror. I don't like who's looking back at me. I'm funky, I'm nasty, I'm dirty. My underwear are crusty and hard and nasty. May I never forget that. And the only thing left for me to do is to invite death into my life. Now, to me, it's a cold thing when your only option and your only solution is death, and that won't even come and take you. What's that all about? As I said, I owe that Colombian 2 kilos, and I knew for sure he was going to take care of the situation. And I went to where he hangs out, and I saw his boys, and I said, look, tell him I'm here because he's looking for me. And they said, wait right here, we'll be right back. And I'll never forget that. I waited 2 hours looking at that door for 2 hours. You know he never came? Coño, that man never came. To this day, I still owe. I still got a contract out for my life. I've had to make amends since then. I always share that. If not, I'll be hiding out in Phoenix, Arizona right now. And he told me that my amends to him was that I stay clean and sober. You can't tell me there isn't a God. And he said that the day that I get loaded is the day that my life belongs to him. So when I tell you for me to get loaded is to die, I don't mean it symbolically. And there's no small print that says until you decide to go back to Cocaine Anonymous. You know, the funny thing is that don't keep me sober. It's a great motivator, but it don't keep me sober. If I don't stay in unity, recovery, and service, he's the first person I'm going to knock on his door and ask him to hook me up. I know what I suffer from today. You told me never to forget my last run. I'm pregnant on my 4th child. All my babies fall. Not now. Oh, you're clapping for whatever. You're clap for whatever. Y'all like to clap, right? I'm pregnant. Hey! Not now. I was pregnant. My sponsees go, oh, she's ESL. I was pregnant on my 4th child. I've lost 3 prior. You know, ladies, I'm so amazed that you have children in your disease. As much as it doesn't seem like a blessing, for me, I believe it is. I wasn't as fortunate. All my babies fall out in toilets and in floors. My womb was always so polluted and so toxic, I could never keep one. Most of the time, I never knew that I was. I would find out after it would fall out. And I would go, oh my, what do you know? Look. And I would clean it up and keep walking. I remember one time I was hanging out with my uncle and he liked to speedball. And he was speedballing and I was getting high and I'm sitting on the toilet. And he's like, what's up? I said, oh man, I think I had a baby. He was like, you all right? I'm cool. Let's keep it doing what we're doing. But this baby was doing something weird to my body. And everybody was moving too fast. And everything was happening too fast. And I didn't understand what was going on. And the sun's burning my skin. And I don't want to be here. And I don't know what's happening. And I need the good old days to come back. And this baby needs to fall out on the toilet like the other babies. And everybody just needs to stop. And I go into a bar and they say, look what the trash brought in. How long had they been saying that? I can't tell you, but I remember when I heard it. To me, that's different. And I'm sick. I'm dope sick, man. I got to get loaded all the time. I can't stop. There's no vacation. And I'm shaking. And these are the circumstances of my bottom. And I get to share it a lot. I think God wants to make sure I never forget it. There's no way I think this story can change other than maybe if I go back out there. And if I go back out there, I'm not coming back. I don't know what that's about, but every bone in my body, every fiber in my being tells me that I only have one recovery. I know I got another drink in me and I got another hit in me, but I don't got another recovery. This is it, folks. I got a one-shot deal. So I better keep coming back. These are the circumstances of my bottom. Circumstances, to me, a bottom, it happens on the inside. It's not what's going on the outside. This day, I just so happened to walk in on my boyfriend sleeping with a guy. That's a normal day, man, from where I come from. Where y'all been? Oh, come on. We're in a Cocaine Anonymous meeting, and they're like, oh, come on. Really? That was funny, right? Oh, my God. It just so happened that this day I was tired, man. And I think God has a sense of humor. That's what I'm calling it. They talk about signs along the way. I swear that I think God was up there going, if this don't get her, He had to do something to get my attention, you know what I'm saying? And I just remember walking in, sleeping with this guy, and I was like, oh, I was like, pistol whip me, but not that, that's too much. I was like, hold up. I was like, I got a problem, I need help. I was tired. I was sick and tired of being sick and tired of being sick and tired. I always say I lost my hustle. You be new, I hope you lost your hustle. It's one thing to have a hustle, man. I like running. I like the hustle. It's another thing when you lose that hustle. When it ain't cute no more. I don't mind ducking and dodging and playing and doing things. That's a whole life within itself. That's a high within itself. That whole lifestyle is a high. There's a walk when you're going. There's a walk when you come back. That's a whole thing, man. But it's one thing now, the walk is the same, going and coming. And I left him. I said, I guess you want to be with him. You don't want to be with me no more. And I did the walk, the aimless walk. The walk with no purpose, no agenda, no destination. It's just a walk. Maybe I was looking for a cliff. I lived in Queens at the time. And I ended up in a church on Parsons Boulevard. It's real funny because I've done that walk, and it's not a straight line. You know how I ended up in that church? The door was red, made out of wood. Metal strips going across with those nails. The handle is wood and it's brown and it's square. That door was so heavy. And I heard a thump. You know, I opened up that door and I heard this thump. And I stepped inside this church and I felt the presence. It's more like what I feel when I come into the rooms. Every time I come into a meeting, I always just kind of pause. And I said a prayer. Is it a prayer that's different than any other prayer? Did it come from the depths of my soul? Wasn't I in a state of complete desperation? Was I truly surrendered? Was I really, really sick and tired of being sick and tired? Was I done? I don't know. All I can tell you is at that moment, at that time in my life, I stood in a window that was open. The grace of God. And I prayed out to this energy. And as I told you, I went to Catholic school and I grew up with a lot of religious practice. That don't mean I have a relationship with God. But I prayed out to a God that I renounced a long time ago. God ain't in my world and in my life. I can act like he is, but he ain't. And I asked this power, this energy, at that moment, at that time, to please allow me to feel the peace that I felt in that church inside of me. Not forever. For just a moment, just for 1 second. All I wanted was for my head to shut up and for my insides to stop turning and for my skin to stop crawling. Just for a moment, just for a second, just shh for a minute. So I can get a grip, you know what I'm saying? I had no idea that prayer was going to change my life. I still trip out on that. I leave there, I go to my father's house in Brooklyn, and Daddy opens up the door. And normally at this time, Daddy just does a about face and he goes upstairs and he leaves like this black African soap for me to clean myself, a white towel and white clothes, in order for me to come into the house, because this house is a temple. And at this time, Daddy opens up the door and he just looks at me. And what comes out of my mouth is amazing. I said, Daddy, help me. And if anybody knows me, I don't say help. I don't come from that. There are rules. You could tell me, help you. And I hope I never forget what my dad said to me. My dad had looked at me and he said, I wish I could tie you up and put you in a closet. But I can't. You're a grown woman. All the love in the world is not going to stop you from doing what you're doing. The love of a father is not going to stop you from doing what you're doing. My father knew he was powerless. I can't love you enough. But he said, I tell you what, you're standing in the middle of a crossroad and there's 3 directions you're headed. You're so close to them, you could taste them and you could smell them. And that's jails, mental institutions, and death. And there's another road, this thing called recovery. It's dark and mysterious. You don't know anything about it, and neither do I. But if you give it a try, and if it doesn't work out, the other 3 will be waiting for you. I always go, thank you, Daddy. I always call Daddy on my 8th birthday. Another 365, Daddy. And my dad and my stepmom put me on a Greyhound bus where I headed out to California because of a tradition around here, which is attraction rather than promotion. As I told you, my mother is currently 24 years of sobriety, and I have a cousin that has 24 years. And I used to go to California, and they used to bring me to meetings. And I was loaded before, during, and after. But at no time did they ever shun me or suck their teeth at me or try to shove a pamphlet down my throat. And for that I am truly grateful. I remember their smiles, the warmth and the camaraderie that you have with one another. I still watch people today. Since I've been here, I've just been watching you. I've always been that watcher. I watch you before the meeting, during the meeting, and after the meeting, like I know people are watching me. And I didn't realize that a seed was planted. Maybe you ruined my drinking and my using. And I detoxed on the Greyhound bus. I threw up, I shook, I sweated, I hallucinated. I had my last drink in El Paso, Texas. Actually, there was a man on that bus that I truly believe helped to save my life. He told me, I know exactly what you need. Come with me. I was really sick. I was real sick. I hadn't been without a drink in this body since fetus. And he carried me around the corner from the bus depot. And he ordered a drink and he put it to my mouth and I drank it up like a dog that had been out of water, man. And it helped me to come the rest of the way. I could have died on that bus. And I arrived in downtown Los Angeles on March 29, 1990. That's why I started my sobriety date. I was wearing a size 1 pair of pants with 2 pants underneath. My hair was all messed up because you know when you smoking and stuff, you be pulling out your hair and doing all kinds of things. I had holes and patches in my hair. And it's all matted like a net and all nasty, ain't been washed. It was gross. I had pimples because you get pus and all that. You know what's so funny is, especially when you, anyway, it's funny to be like all doped out, smoking and everything, and you got pimples and your hair's a mess and you're all sucked in and you still think you cute. Isn't that funny? So like, hey, how you doing? You know, you be like, anyway. To me, that's insane by itself. I had a huge sweatshirt. As I said, 4 months pregnant. The baby didn't have a heartbeat by the time I got here. And my mother picked me up. And she dropped me off in the rooms. I got sober in Crenshaw, Alano, which is now also back to basic. That's my home. I always say I'm so proud of the breed I come from. And 9604. God knew exactly where to put me. He put me in South Central, man. I was hanging out with the dealers of the dealers, the hustlers of the hustlers, the pimps of the pimps. I love my sponsor. My sponsor was like one of the first female pimps in L.A. I dig her. She still got the hats and the shoes, whatever. I love her. She walk in, you be like, yo, what's up? That's my sponsor. Check out. She's way cool. I have a sponsor who thinks she's like Buddha from the hood. And my mother left me in the meetings because they told her to. She had to turn me over to the people that had saved her life. That's as far as she can go with me. My mother couldn't help me. I'm still trying to plot her murder. I'm real honest about that. It's on a lot of tapes. Even the social worker called me, and I said that. My sponsor was like, did you realize you told the social worker you're trying to plot your mother's murder? You shouldn't say that. I was like, I'm being honest. But the relationship has gotten better. I came to this program like the emergency room, like I had 20 bullet holes in me. I was bleeding all over the place. I wasn't interested in your credentials. I just needed to know if you had a needle and a thread. To me, this has been the last house on the block. I didn't come here to play with you people. I'm not looking for no social club. I'm not looking for buddies. I'm not looking to hang out. I'm dying. We're a group that don't normally mix. You can always tell, even Facebook, even if they don't advertise, but they show a picture of a group of people, you know that they're from the program. You don't see that? I see on Facebook, I'm like, they're in the program. Look at those people. None of those people would normally hang out with each other. Look at them. You could tell that's not a group of friends. They're from a meeting. You could tell. I'm grateful when I came in here that we have traditions, principles before personality. People say it at the end of the meeting like they know what they're saying. Principles before personality. No, do you know what that means? To me, it meant that you don't have to like me and I don't have to like you. I hung out in crack houses with people I didn't like. All I need to know is, you got $5? You got $5? I got $5. I'm a member because I say I am. The only requirement is a desire, and I have a seat, and you can't throw me out. I don't know about you, but I took advantage of the principles when I got here. I used to tell people I was crazy when I was new. It was a trip. You can't tell me there isn't a God, and this program don't work. I came here and I told people, if you don't like me, that's too bad because I'm a member. Okay? And you have to help me. You have to extend your hand. I don't like you either, but it doesn't matter. Where are you going in the meeting after the meeting? What step are you on? That's all I need to know. I always share that. I still, to this day, my home group is the women's meeting at 5 o'clock at Back to Basics on 48th and Crenshaw. The girls, they'd be like, man, Terry, nobody liked you, but you'd be like, I don't care. Where you going? And I hung out with people. And the old-timers that were there spoon-fed me. They told me I knew nothing. All I know how to do is die. To sit down, shut up, and listen. I still do that today to newcomers. Everybody's so sensitive. I don't care. I still do. Everybody's getting a little sensitive around here. Whatever. I'm grateful that, I've heard some people say, oh, the program is changing and the old-timers used to do this. If it's changing, then we're not doing it because the old-timers are dying, okay? Bill and Dr. Bob and all of them are not here. So I need to keep carrying the same message they carry to me. Newcomer comes in, I tell them, sit down and shut up. You don't know nothing. Sit down. Sit down and be quiet. Sit down, shut up, and listen. Here's the big book. Shut up. Be quiet. Because sometimes if I start listening to the newcomer too long, I start believing them and I get confused. I do. I try to have an open mind, right? And I'm listening. I'm like, really? The neurons do what? With the trons? What was happening? What are we talking about? Forget about it. Shut up. I mean, like, you got me going, man. For a second there, I was like, you know what? Maybe we both don't have a problem. You know what I'm saying? After listening to you, I realized we all wrong. I know. I always share the story that I went to a meeting early morning in the valley and I thought it was KKK. Just this will help the newcomer. I'm sicker than most. And it just shows about how being a member means to me. I thought it was the Ku Klux Klan. And I raised my hand at that meeting, and I said I need to share. I said I want you KKK people to know that I'm a member, all right? And I'm not leaving, okay? And you have to help me. So you're going to be helping the Negro tonight. Because I saw a sign, and it's a 12-step program, and I get to have a seat here. As long as I don't see no rope going around no tree, and no hood on nobody's head, I'm not going nowhere. They were like, girl, we're not KKK. I was like, I'm just saying. You look like it. I'm making it clear. I've been a mess. I'm sick. I'm grateful. I tell people you can't tell me isn't a God, and this program don't work. I have done the uncomfortable until it became comfortable. Talk about getting rid of old ideas. I had to come here and begin a whole blank new canvas. The old-timers and my sponsor was not interested in my old ideas. They told me they do not apply. I had to learn a whole new way of life, a whole new way of living. I had to discover this thing that we talk about, love, around here. What does that look like? My sponsor had to teach me how to eat. What are the 4 food groups? That's a chair. You sit in it. Enjoy the sun. I remember I talked to people around here with an index card. Because whatever you said to me, I heard something completely different. And my sponsor directed me to say, can I get back to you on that? And I will go and I would tell her, and I will come back and talk to you with index cards. It's amazing that some people say, Theresa, you speak so well. And perhaps it's because of the index cards. I've had to learn how to apply the steps into my life. I learned to breathe them, taste them, smell them, digest them. I'm grateful my sponsor did not tell me that they were exercises and I need to hand in a term paper. They gave me the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous and told me it was a textbook. It was meant to be studied. It was not a novel. They opened up to the blank page. They show it to me. They said, read it. I said, it's blank. They said, exactly. You don't know nothing. Nothing. All you know how to do is die. I had to follow the black on the white. I tell people this program is not that deep. I wish I can get deep with you, but it ain't deep. It's a simple program for complicated people. It's not about how I feel. I just got to do it. I've done a lot of things. I'm willing to go to any lengths for a hit, for a drug, for a man, for money, for whatever. Now all of a sudden I come in here and I can't write. That cracks me up. Oh no, writing, oh my God. That's too much, that's too much. You tell me that I don't have to do blowjobs for $5 for a $5 piece and all I gotta do is an inventory? Where's the pen and paper? Are you kidding me? My ego helped me. If you be new at some level, if there's something that you see about me and you think I'm way off, better for you. Because when I got here, I saw people in the rooms and I thought they were retarded. And I said, that retarded man got 30 years. Do you see that retarded man with 30 years? Where's the big book? There's no way I'm going to be in the crack house smoking, thinking about this retarded man sober for 30 years. Whatever works for you. And I've had to learn how to apply these steps into my life. More and more has been revealed. They have burned into my consciousness to trust God and clean house and be of service. I told you 25 years of my life was a blackout. And it has been revealed to me in these rooms. I've been in the fetal position around here. I've had to grow up along emotional lines. I've become a lady. I've had to learn to become an adult. The old-timer women had to teach me how to dress. I just show up in meetings half naked with fishnet stockings and bustier and all this nonsense. And they just say, look like somebody got some issues. Where your clothes at, girl? I'm grateful the way they talk to me. They say, you don't have to do that today, baby. You ain't got to dress like that no more. I was like, really? I didn't know. I remember I asked Miss Iona, I said, how do I sleep with everybody? There's a lot of people. Now, I know it's doable. But we got to see how we're going to work this out. And I always say, Miss Iona could have said anything to me. And she said, now, baby, I done slept with everybody in CA. You don't have to. She said, I did it for you. And so when people will come to talk to me, I'll be like, you slept with Miss Iona. And she said, I don't have to sleep with you. I've had so much fun. I love the laughter. I laugh a lot. I like the childlike laughter because I never laughed like that before. I've had an opportunity to be a sister to my brother who 20 years ago would have told you he didn't have one. Today, he's a single dad with these 2 boys, and these boys love their titi so much. I have uncovered, discovered, and discarded. I've continued to clean house. My sponsor refers to it as a toilet bowl full of shit, and you need the plunger. I'm no longer blocked from the sunlight of the Spirit. I work hard for that. I remember after my first year birthday, I blew out my candle, and my sponsor looked at me and said, happy birthday. Now it's no longer about you. For the last 20 years, it's always been about giving back what was so freely given to me. That I go to a meeting to be with another addict, to make sure that there's coffee and that the chair is there for them like it was for me. I don't go to a meeting to check in. It ain't no hotel and it's not an airport. I don't go to a meeting to suck the life out of it or take from it. I go to give. If it's just to sit and pay attention and show the newcomer what it is to pay attention. I get the honor and the privilege to travel around the world without a dime in my pocket. And I get to have friends all over the world. It's amazing. I get to show up in my family's life and do the best that I can. I had to go back to New York and make amends. I had a list. Just recently, I went back to New York and I had a crazy experience. I didn't realize that in these 21 years, I never had a relationship with CA or AA, for that matter, in New York. The disease is cunning, baffling, and powerful. I didn't know that I was saving it for break open in case of emergency. I've established relationships with states and countries, but not New York. And they asked me to come and speak in the middle of the city, and I was angry. And thank God for these tools and this program, and I did some writing, and I recognized in my writing that I had a reservation. And I called my sponsor, and I said, oh my goodness, all this time I made sure that New York was not on the map. So should I ever go back, I can go back to New York and nobody would ever know. And my sponsor told me how funny it is that you're willing to stand on the corner and sell your ass, and you're not worried about the police. You're worried about somebody from CA walking by going, Theresa? Is that you? Be like, get out of here, kid, you bother me. I don't want what I had. So I just keep coming back and I stay in unity, recovery, and service. It doesn't matter what I did yesterday. It don't matter what I'm going to do tomorrow. It only matters what I do right now. There are promises around here and we get them. If all else fails, I work with another addict. If sex is troublesome, I work with another addict. The only thing that ensures permanent sobriety is working with another addict. Life's in session. Sometimes I just ask God if I can get a house just so I could put some more dope fiends in it. My house is like central office and like a CA meeting with no trusted servants. You feel that? I live like that on the inside. God's a show off, huh? That's what I say. I say God's a show off. Only this higher power that we talk about around here, if you be new, can take a dope fiend like me, a crackhead like me, dust me off, build me up, to show you what He can do. Could you imagine what He can do for you? I can't take any credit for it. I can't pat myself on the back. Each and every day, I let this power demonstrate itself through me of what it can do. And all I got to do is be honest, have an open mind, and the mustard seed of willingness. And I clean house. So I really hope you've enjoyed yourself this weekend. I congratulate God for what it has done this weekend. I hope that what you take with you is hope, that it only gets better. If you be new, sanity does return, and it returns on the 10 steps, so you need to hurry up. You only get hope on the second. I feel weird. All of a sudden, I just got a whole burst of sadness. I get mixed emotions. Sobriety has been a whole adventure for me. It's like Disneyland. Everything is new. Every day is new. Every experience is new. I've been around some of you, and I really appreciate your patience with me. I'm just like a child. I ask a lot of questions, because I learn from all of you, and I want to thank you all for. I always get confused with sad and happy thing. I think it's happy, no? I don't know still. It's weird. To me, they both feel the same. Well, anyway, I'm having a moment by myself. Sorry. I'm like, what's going on? But I want to, real quick, I'm ending, but I want to thank the women for being my shadow and my mirror. I learned from you what a lady looks like, what a sister looks like, what a mother looks like, what an aunt looks like, and I want to thank you. I want to thank you for your gentleness and your nurturing.